You just tuned it in. Global and worldwide. Hitting you on the one with no delay. Because it's the Fighter's Voice. The Fighter's Voice. With your fighting host, Richard Ortiz. And the formidable co-host, Mr. Cole Escobedo. Remember, every fighter has a voice.
All right, this is Michael Ruther here with the Fighter's Voice. I got Roberto Diaz, the man, the myth, the legend himself, the GoldenBoy Matchmaker here on the line. And we're going to start this for you guys here for the Fighter's Voice again. So how you doing today, Roberto?
Michael, I'm doing really good. Thank you so much. And glad to be here with you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. I know you guys got a lot of work going on right now. You got many cards, many fighters pretty much all over the world. So, yeah, I'm glad you were able to take some time out.
Yeah, we've got some exciting times. We've got some good fights coming out tomorrow. I mean, very important fights for the fighters. And for the fans today, we got the rematch of Oscar Negrete and Joshua Franco Part 2. I mean, it was a very exciting fight, one of the best fights we had last year, and I think it's going to take off round 7. It's going to start right where it left off. He makes his GoldenBoy debut tomorrow, and he's in his first fight, the only guy that's ever beaten. He's in a rematch. And then opening the card tomorrow is Marlene Esparza fighting for her first regional belt. So it's an exciting time. Obviously, next week is a big weekend for us as well.
Yeah, I know. I've been looking into that card. That from what I've seen, the second fight that you're telling me about, the Canadian fans are really looking forward to that one as well. So I like how you guys have it pretty much, spread out, not just, one certain fan base. You got every fan base in there because you got, again, Negrete and Franco going at it. That's a big fight. I watched that fight last year. It was a great, exciting fight. And now, again, Marlene Esparza, women's boxing's taking off a lot. So she's going to be one of the key pioneers for that as well. So that's a good thing she's fighting for a belt, setting up that fight, hopefully, with Estrada down the road. So we're looking at that.
Yes, definitely. I mean, everybody's calling for that fight. And most importantly, they both want that fight.
Yeah.
So it's a fight that's going to happen, that has to happen for the good of not just women boxing, but for boxing in general. There's a rivalry there. But, Marlene's been out for a little bit, so coming right back in after she had a baby and after the maternity leave and everything coming back, right away she wanted to fight for a title. I mean, she didn't want to tour up or anything, so hats off to her on that, and she wants to get right back in there. She stayed training. My understanding was she trained, like, no joke, till like a week before the baby was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's dedication right there.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, that baby must have came out throwing punches out the womb, man.
More than the tip.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's a good story right there. So, yeah, if that baby's a fighter, we know why.
Exactly.
Yeah, so speaking of the fighters you guys got, I mean, you had I know you guys have him with Cotto as well. Feliciano last week, he had a great win as well. How's he looking to you guys, and how have you seen him develop, since day one? Now I believe he's 11 or 12-0, correct?
Yes, he's undefeated. Look, I'm glad you bring him up. That's one of the kids that works really hard, trains really hard, very dedicated, knows exactly what he wants. He's on a fast track. He'll be doing his next fight. He's now, I believe he's 11-0, but his next fight, he's in a 10-rounder now.
Okay.
And he's developed very, very well, progressed very well, in fact, much better. And that's why we're willing to go faster. But I remember his first couple fights, one of the fights, he was very disappointed because he couldn't knock the guy out. And I was like, please don't get disappointed. At the beginning of the career, the rounds, that experience is very valuable. The knockouts will come later. And now, I think he's on a knockout streak of like 4 or 5 fights.
Yeah.
In the last fight, he looked very, very strong, setting up, working the body, and then coming back up top and getting a beautiful knockout.
Yeah, he's been very impressive, man. I remember watching, I want to say maybe it was his 3rd or 4th fight. Then I started following him. And, yeah, on Saturday, he was very impressive. I mean, when you have other people, other fighters, and not just that are part of GoldenBoy, commented or retweeting videos about it, that's how you know he's making a mark, because it was impressive. And like I'm saying, I was seeing people, other fighters, like, hey, check this guy out. Look at Luis. Look, and I was like, oh, man, there you go. So, yeah, I've seen him progress. and he's gotten very, very good, and I'm excited to see what his future holds. So I'm very excited to see that as well.
I appreciate it, and I know he will. He's a great kid. Like I said, all the accolades for him, he's well-deserved because he trains and works hard, and he knows what he wants. He's very dedicated, always makes weight, very disciplined, very humble, and a beast inside the ring.
Yes, sir. Now, speaking of that, as you said, you have him on the fast track. One of the things that I've noticed, and many boxing fans have noticed, when it comes to GoldenBoy's prospects, you guys don't, honestly, you guys don't babysit these fighters. You guys throw them in there with the lions real early, and I love that because, you've seen some fighters that get protected up until they're 20-0, 25-0, somewhere around there. They get into a real fight, and they get walloped. You guys have these guys at 10-0, 8-0, 14-0, but you guys are putting them in there with real legit fighters, making them earn it. Is there a reason you guys do that, or is just you guys you feel like you don't have time to play games?
No, you know what? I'm glad that the fans and you guys are noticing it because obviously it's a double-edged sword. I mean, we'll get criticized and killed all the time when something goes wrong, but the way I see it, and I said it many years ago when I started, I'm not here to build records. I'm not here to build pretty records or make it look good on paper. I'm here to build champions, and sometimes that champion might not be undefeated. That's okay. Back in the era that I fell in love with boxing, back in the day, was the records weren't important. As long as you were fighting the best and being the best, the fans followed you. And it was a different change, a change where the O was so important, and you have champions that don't want to defend against quality opponents. So I like the old school way. Look, a good example is Roberto Diaz. Here's a kid with under a dozen fights, and his upcoming fight, he's fighting the second time he's fighting a former world champion. I don't think there's champions out there that have fought former world champions. I mean, except unless they wanted to win a vacant title or something, or they won the title from a champion. But there's many fighters out there with double his fights that have not fought former world champions. And what it does for a fighter, it's a young man's sport. Go get your name out there. Go get what you're going to do and have, a top-level career. But if you lose in the process, because maybe it was a little too soon, you'll learn from that loss and you'll only come back better.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go the soft way, you could get 20-0, 20 knockouts all in the first round. What happens with that first time that opponent says, you know what, I'm not here to fall, I'm not falling, and I'll fight back? They'll get like a deer in the headlights, they'll get all paranoid. They haven't been there before. So little by little, I like to step it up and gradually move them up and see, test. And if they're passing the test, then you go forward even faster.
Very true. And speaking of Virgil Ortiz, the fighter he's fighting is someone that is extremely difficult to look really good against. You got him against El Maestro Mauricio Herrera, one of my favorite fighters watching, a hard worker. He gets the most out of his skill. In my opinion, he beat Danny Garcia. He beat Benavidez. I feel he's been on the wrong side of many decisions, and he is very tough to look good against. As I said, with the Garcia one, you could see he had Garcia befuddled in that fight. Like, Garcia was hitting him with shots that normally would wobble or at least, make the opponent think, and Herrera was walking through as if it was nothing. So that's a very good fight for Ortiz at this point in his career, as you said, because that's a tough one. That's one of those ones, as you said, he may lose or he may have something where he's thinking, I might blow through this guy, but Herrera's not one of those guys that's just going to fall down. He's going to give it his all. He's going to be there. He's going to make him work. He's going to get in his head. So that's a great fight. I love that fight for Ortiz at this point because of the style that Herrera is going to bring to him.
I thank you for that because Mauricio deserves all the respect, all the admiration from the fans. He's had a very tough career. Never turned down an opponent. He'll fight anybody, anywhere. I mean, and he is a throwback fighter. He's one of those fighters from, back in the day that's willing to fight might not have the prettiest record, but you said it. He's had some bad decisions against him. He's had some wars. The way I see this fight, it is a dangerous fight for Virgil because it might be too much too soon. But, again, he's young. If he was to lose come May 4th, he'll learn from this fight. If he doesn't knock out Mauricio and it goes the distance, regardless of the decision, it's valuable rounds of experience he picks up.
Yep.
And then, on the other hand, if he knocks out Mauricio, which is nobody's been able to do it, I mean, it's very difficult, like you said, to look good against him. He's very awkward, very tough, knows what he's doing in the ring. Even when he's laying on the ropes, he'll make you miss. He's comfortable there. Then what does it say about Virgil? This kid, he's a world champion within 12 months. I mean, so these are the type of fights that let us know, the fighter know, the team know, and the world know where these fighters are, where these fighters are at this point of their career.
Yeah, and Virgil's one of those guys that when you watch him, you glance, you see a little bit of it. He's there at the eye test. He's like, wow, he's got that power, he's got that movement where he catches you. This is those fights where does that eye test really show you? If he is able to, let's say he goes 4 or 5 rounds, but he gets that knockout, it's like, wow, this kid's for real. This is legit. Because Herrera's older now, but he still has that skill where he's making you miss, and he still hasn't been knocked out. He's never taken a beating to where you could say, okay, he's due. No, he's never taken a beating to where.
And that's very important too, because you see fighters that maybe other promoters are bringing back, and it's like, okay, give this kid a break. With Herrera, he's had his time off when he needs a rest and a break. And I've talked to him. We're very close. He's one of my favorite fighters as well to work with and see in the ring, because again, he never turns down a fight. He's willing to fight anybody, and he's too good. I mean, he's fought Soto Caraz, he's fought Cano, he's fighting Virgil, he's fighting Sadam, he's fought anybody, Frankie Gomez. And here's a kid that it's come to the point where I'm like, okay, hey, here's this fight on a big stage, but anything short from a win or even a close one, it's about time. And he's agreed. So that makes him more dangerous.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact in this particular camp, he's even gone up to Big Bear, and he's training really, really hard, knowing that the back's against the wall and a loss can retire him. And it's tough. Sometimes it's tough for them to go and say, I'm going to retire now, but you never know in boxing. Look at Jesus Soto Caraz. He had been retired, comes back, fights in the undefeated prospect, beats him. So it's like, was it too soon, or was it that the experienced lion came back, rested, ready to go and take another win?
Exactly, and as you said, it's the warrior, it's the lion. It's in this case, it's not that he's hurt, but as they say, the worst or the most dangerous person, the most dangerous animal is the wounded one. In the fact that he might have to retire, that's a wound. That's in a way he's wounded, so he's going to bring everything. He's going to show everything that he has in this fight. So that's what I see as well with Herrera.
Exactly.
And speaking of that May 4th card, I mean, everybody's excited for it. I won't even get into the main event yet. I'm excited. I'm Jojo Diaz. We had him on last week. He's got the energy, man. I love the energy he brings. He called for everybody. Some fighters, I understand, as he said, it's business. Tevin Farmer just had a fight, so he wasn't trying to right away. Cancio's got his fight, or he's in that position where he doesn't want to risk, or not Cancio, Alvarado is in the position where he doesn't want to risk his mandatory, so we understand that as well. So with the rest of the undercard, it looks real good. I know it took a hit with Lemieux having to fall out. What is the fight you're most looking forward to on the card besides the main event, and who are you more excited to see, obviously besides like Virgil?
Well, I'm excited because I have a lot of young guys coming up, and we've been working when they were 4-rounders, 6-rounders, and now to see them at this stage. Lamont Roach Jr., he's in a very important fight. He's fighting Jonathan Oquendo from Puerto Rico, and the winner becomes number one, and it unifies 2 regional belts, so it's a very important fight. Oquendo had an upset over Johnny Gonzalez, and been around for a long time. This is Lamont's moment, And I think Lamont's ready for it. I know he came out to California and he's been training, sparring with JoJo, sparring with Vargas. That's when you see a kid really wants it. You know, he got out of his comfort zone, out of his hometown, came out here early. He's in California training, sparring with other names, seeing different things, and ready for this week. That's one of the fights. Bilal Akaway took Lemieux's spot. He'll be fighting. All of a sudden, he was in camp with Canelo training for a fight. But when Lemieux pulled out because of the injury, it, stepped in Akaway. And that's where you see fighters, you see their character. A lot of fighters, I need 10 weeks to get ready for a fight. Bilal was notified last week, hey, you want this? Yes, I want it. It's a world title fight, of course I want it. That's when you test characters. That's what they're fighting for, training for all the time. I need 6 weeks, 10 weeks. I understand, but if you're always in the gym, you don't have to get ready. And with JoJo, I'm excited. Look, JoJo's one of the hardest workers out there. Unfortunately, last year, things didn't go his way, but I think he learned from it, and that just made him a better fighter. And that's what I'm talking about, how they improve. A loss doesn't end your career or bury you. It makes you better. This kid's hungry. He knows what he wants, and nobody's going to stop him. I'm very confident that at 130 he will win a world title. Unfortunately, like you said, there was commitments, and Farmer wasn't available. Quigg wasn't available. We offered Johnny Gonzalez. He had just arrived to training camp. MIKLE. We went through a list of everybody. And fighters either turned them down or weren't available or all priced themselves. And right now we have Fonseca that, he's not really known, but then that makes him dangerous because it's like, okay, who is this guy? Is he the next Chocolatito? Or is he just an opponent that's going to, but it's a big opportunity for him. He's ranked number 5 in the world, and obviously he trains with former world champion, one of the best out of Nicaragua, which is Rosendo El Búfalo Álvarez.
Yeah, that's a legend right there in Nicaragua. So that's a good test for JoJo, especially as you said, being unknown. Hey, like we said, I brought this up last year. Same way as Munguia, he was unknown last year, and he burst onto the scene. So
exactly, you got to be careful. I mean, look, I personally, the unknown for me was working with Antonio Barrera, and then we had this fight working in San Antonio many years ago against Manny Pacquiao. It was like, yeah, he fought Agapito, and he had this fight with Baba, but he was still, all I could see was, he's fast. And look what this fast turned out to be. I mean, a tremendous fighter, Hall of Famer, still fighting to today.
Yeah, and look, exactly. You just never know. There's been many of those fights where it's, he's fighting someone that we don't know, and then the guy becomes a world champion somewhere down the road, or always picks up upsets. That's just, certain fighters are that way. So that's always a test, especially as JoJo is in a position to where he's at the doorstep of another world title shot.
Exactly. And like I told them, sometimes it's tough because, they want it, and it's based right now, the cards have to fall. Cancio, after, when we re-signed Cancio, after he took his layoff, he came back and we re-signed him and said, I want the JoJo fight. I want to fight Diaz. And I said, look, Andrew, the only way that fight's going to happen, bro, is if you win a world title, because knowing how the team's going to, any team, why would I fight a guy I already beat? So go get a world title, and if he wins the world title, then you guys can unify. That fight makes sense now, and money for you guys. And as soon as he won the world title, he was getting stitched up in the back, and he says, Robert, remember, I want JoJo. And I couldn't believe it that he would remind me right there while he's getting stitched up while he just won the world title. And I was like, yep, well, I think you can get it now. Because you have a belt, and that's what he wants. So there's a lot of possibilities. Obviously, right now, first things first, he has the rematch with Machado coming up in June. And then Rene Alvarado did a fight in Nicaragua. He's going to do a fight in Nicaragua to stay busy, to stay sharp, because he has the mandatory. And I understood him. When I offered him to fight for JoJo, he said, look, I'll fight JoJo after I win the world title. But my dream is to fight for the world title.
Yeah.
And I said, I understand that, and I have to respect that. So after, then if JoJo wins that gold belt, then he'll align. He'll be up in the top rated in the division, and just have to be patient at this point.
Yeah, and that's one thing I really like about JoJo is he understood. When we talked with Farmer, he told us, or when he brought up Farmer, He said, he respects it. He understands he had a tough fight. He's just JoJo's so anxious, but he respected Tarver's decision, and he knows, or Farmer's decision, he knows that that's a fight that's going to be there. He respected, Alvarado because he knows the position he's in, that he doesn't want to risk his mandatory. So I love that about him, and I especially love that after Cancio won the fight, he didn't come out like, oh, I already beat this man. As other fighters, well, oh, I want him, I beat him. He came out and said, all respect to Cancio on winning the title. Didn't take a shot at him, didn't bring up that he had defeated him before. He said all respect for winning that title. JoJo is a class person in and out of the ring, and I really admire that about him as well. So, to be like a little biased, I really do hope he does pull through and get a world title and win one, because he's one of those guys that I feel deserves that, just because of the class and type of person he is.
Absolutely. He's a great role model with the kids. And look, I mean, there's no secret. We look at, obviously, the most important characteristics if they can fight, but we also look at a lot of the features of outside, and are they going to be good role models? And we try to like advise them like that as well. And you'll see a lot of our fighters in the stable are very similar to that. It's very rare. I mean, obviously, if somebody pushes the wrong buttons, the guys are going to react, but it's very rare that we have somebody just screaming and yelling and then trying to get attention. I mean, these guys get the attention inside the ring.
Exactly. Now, another fighter that I want to bring up, of course, this is one that is on everybody's radar. He's well-liked among the ladies, is Ryan Garcia. I remember watching him, and I say that because I have family, and my fiance's, her little extended family, we were watching the fight in December from New York, and he's cute. I was like, I'm trying to watch a fight, man. Like, I'm not trying to hear all that. I'm like, and then he starts fighting, and they're like, oh, wow, he could really fight. So I watched him come up. I watched him, I think, pretty much from the first fight. How have you seen him progress, and how did that move from, going to Canelo's team? How do you feel that's going to help him out down the road, and how do you feel it's helping him right now?
Oh, it's helping him tremendously. I mean, number one, what he can see in the gym, what he can see, he to learn from a fighter of Canelo's level inside not only what Canelo can do inside the ring, but what Canelo represents outside the ring. A fighter, elite fighter who's made it to the top, who really, you could say, he could retire right now if he wanted to. I mean, he's won titles, he's made money, yet he still has the dedication of working his ass off, because it's not over yet. He wants to continue writing history. The young fighters can learn from that, because if they're not training 100%, that will definitely motivate them. And then whatever advice he gives them, personal advice, can only benefit him. So I have seen even in the New York fight, which was his first fight with Eddie Reynoso in the corner, in the first round, where Ryan would pull back sometimes too much to avoid the opponent's punches, he sticks out his hand to put a distance between him and his fighter. And right away, I loved it. I'm like, oh my God, he picked that up already. He's already doing this instead of pulling back.
Yeah.
And that was just the first fight. I also, in the first fight, chose that opponent, and it was a great opponent for him, because here was a kid, sticking his tongue out, trying to frustrate Ryan with movements and punches, and just talking to him, where maybe Ryan of the old would have gotten a little wild and frustrated trying to knock the guy out. I saw a lot more composure, and that comes with, what you've been learning in the gym, and be composed and be relaxed and breathe so that you fight relaxed. And I was very, very happy with that fight. And obviously, then he had his last performance, and even though a lot of people don't give him credit for it, they're not. And when you're at the top, and I'm not saying he's the world champion at the top or anything, but he's at the top of his peer, of his group. He's at the top. There's no other 20-year-old doing what he's doing. There's even I'll go back to that. There's even world champions that are not doing what he's doing. And that's where the fans sometimes forget and expect too much. Hey, he won't beat this guy, he won't beat that guy, and he's not even okay, but he's only 20 years old.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that I that I've always told people is, yes, yeah, he talks, he's got his Instagram, YouTube, all of that. He's still only 20 years old. The fact that he's still doing what he's doing, because as you said with Canelo earlier, he could retire. Ryan doesn't need to box. He's got, the following that he has. He's got, his YouTube series. If he really wanted to dedicate to other things, he could, but he wants to fight. And he
wants to fight, and you could see him train. He trains hard. He's not just, at times he knows what's important. He knows everything's important. What he's doing is attending to his fans, and he'll have these meet and greets, and he's doing things. But once it comes training camp, the kid trains. The kid works. Whereas maybe others would get caught up and only do YouTube and only do this and fight part-time. And no, this kid knows he wants to be a world champion. He wants to be a great fighter.
Yeah, and exactly.
But it won't happen in time.
Exactly, and again, he's only 20. I think it's at sometimes certain people get, they get caught up in other fighters. Like I'm gonna put in, for instance, Shakur Stevenson. He's a great fighter I believe he's 21 or 22. But same thing, even he has said himself, and we've all seen it. He's a great young fighter. He just beat a world title challenger, but he doesn't have that grown man strength yet to show just how good he could really be. And I think that's the problem, is that they see someone like Shakur, and they're saying, well, how come Ryan's not doing that? Okay, well, Ryan's only 20. People develop a little differently. He's 20. Shakur's 21, 22. Once, like Ryan, he's 20. He's knocking people out now. Imagine when maybe he's 23, 24, and when he develops his strength, he might be putting people to sleep, off the first punch.
I told him his body is changing already. I mean, you could see from the first time I had Ryan when we recently signed him, he was in the ring, till now, his body's changed. In 2 more years, at 22, we had this talk maybe about a month ago. I said, in 2 more years, Ryan, that's going to be your time. Right now, it's just, look, we're getting there. We're getting the experience. It may be sooner. It may be a little bit after, but 22, he's going to be prime, and that's going to be for a while.
Oh, yeah. I see that as well. Those lower weight classes that I'm seeing, 126, 130, 135, 140, because of the state, not just Ryan, it's just overall in general, the prospects that are there right now, borderline contenders, they're coming up. That's going to be a great, great time once they all hit their real prime. That's going to be incredible that I'm seeing now. Like, I'm putting Ryan and Virgil and part of that list as well, because that's they belong there. So that's going to be very good to see as well.
And they say, oh, Ryan hasn't fought. I hear it all the time, and I'm like, okay, look, Jason Bellis is a tough. When I saw that Jason Bellis was going to fight Scott Quigg, I said, oh, man, JoJo might not get to fight Scott Quigg. That was a dangerous fight for Quigg. Yes, Bellis is no joke. Yes. Joe Bellis is in the gym every day, trains hard. He's learned from his losses and has gotten better. Carlos Morales, people write him off too easy. Carlos Morales is a tough look. Nobody had ever dropped Machado. Before Machado won the world title, Carlos Morales had him on the floor twice.
Yep.
Carlos Morales is a tough, savvy, and he makes it hard to look good against him. The way Carlos Morales got signed by GoldenBoy, he beat 3 GoldenBoy fighters. So he hasn't had everything laid out. So just because people don't know them doesn't mean he's fighting, these guys are nobody. These guys are actually under the radar, come out and surprise a lot of people. And yet, Ryan has been able to handle and beat them. Close fights, whatever you want, but those are the fights where he learned.
Exactly. As you just said, at Wacancio, JoJo beat him. Back then, people were probably like, he beat someone who's that? And now you're like, oh, man, he just won a title. That JoJo victory looks a lot more impressive.
That's a perfect example of not here to build records, pretty records. We spoke, Cancio and I spoke the other day when we were in Blythe, and he received all the honors and his belt and everything. He might not have the prettiest record, but every time you tune in to see Andrew Cancio, you're going to see a fight.
Exactly.
Because he knows the way he was brought up. I mean, this is a kid that has 24 fights. He's a world champion today, but he's a kid that could have retired already by now and given it up because You know, he had a few losses, he had some setbacks, but he came up so tough. And at 30-plus years old, holding a real hard labor job, he didn't let go of the dream of, I want to become a world champion. I want to take my kids and say, look, Daddy's a world champion. And he does it. That's a Cinderella story. That's what boxing is, why it's so beautiful.
Exactly.
It can change somebody like that.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, when I was watching that fight, I was just sitting there. I was watching that one actually with my dad, and while I was talking about him, because I told him, I was like, he lost to JoJo, and my dad surprises me at times because he'll remember these guys, and he goes, oh, I remember him. He's like, it was tough. He goes, JoJo beat him. He goes, but it wasn't easy. He goes, I think he could beat Machado, and in my head, I'm like, yeah, he could, but I was like, you know, Machado's here for a reason, and then he drops, and my dad's all, I told you. He's like, he has it, and I was real shocked, but I mean, that again, as you said, it's not about the, you know, the records, it's not about this, it's not about that, it's the heart, the determination, and Cancio did it, and as you said, he might have some losses on his record, he might have had some setbacks, but right now he can sit down, and he's looking at that bout, and he's looking at the wall, he's looking at the stories, his name is next to world champion.
Exactly. Look, in the beginning of the year, you know, obviously we now have this amazing platform, and I think it's definitely going to change boxing. But I said, look, we're going to have an exciting year. 2019 we're going to bring it because it gives you the opportunity to put on some great fights, and we started with a bang. I mean, upset in the eyes of many, but it wasn't really an upset. Pablo Cesar Cano stopping Linares in the first round. It was like, you know, maybe that was a surprise that it was in the first round, but not the win because Cano is a veteran. Again, not the prettiest record, but a kid that's always in a fight.
Yeah.
And has fought some of the biggest names out there. I mean, Cano took Eric Morales on 1 week notice. He was going to Vegas to be a fan and watch for the very first time in the States. He was going to go to Vegas to watch the fight. When Lucas Matiz got pulled out, all of a sudden it's like, hey, who? He raised his hand, he said, me, I'll take it. And he lost the fight, but he put on an amazing performance and let the world know who he was. And now he's back up on top.
Yeah,
back on top.
And another thing that people forget about Cano is, I believe he beat Malignaggi.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people said that. You know, it was a very close fight. He dropped Paulie.
Yeah, he was close, and he dropped him. To me, that gave him the win, was that knockdown. Yep.
And the following one, we had another upset, but in a great fight was Shu Khan against Jesus Rojas.
That was an unbelievable fight.
It was good. And Shu Khan, I mean, made history, only the third Chinese fighter in the history to win a world title. He's the only one right now to hold the belt. So that's the beauty of the sport. You know, Rojas, anybody that knew Rojas said, oh, Rojas is going to knock him out. This guy's too strong. And Shu Khan was, every time Rojas hit him, Shu Khan would reply with a combination. And, you know, that's the beauty of the sport. And then followed up by Cancio, knocking out an undefeated fighter that nobody gave Cancio a chance. And look, world champion for life. So it makes dreams come true as long as the fighters put in the work and the records don't mean a thing.
Yes. And it's boxing. That's the one thing that I've always told. Boxing is one of those sports where all it takes is one punch.
Yep.
And,
exactly.
So those upsets have been. I remember the first one was like, oh wow, what a way to start the year. Oh, okay, all right. Now we're getting a lot of these. What's going on here? And then Cancio. Yeah, it was like, all right. Now I was like, I'm just waiting on somebody else to get put to sleep somewhere along the way. And as you were saying, you were speaking about your platform. The Zone. You guys have a tremendous platform. I mean, putting fights on, as you were saying, you got a card tomorrow. You got fighters on Friday. Then the next week again, you have a Thursday and a Saturday card. So before it was you're lucky if you had 1 or 2 cards in the month. Now you have 2 or 3 cards in 2 week span. That's really good, and that puts the sport more out there.
And it gives the fighters opportunities. I mean, obviously at this level and with so many freaking cards, the most important thing in a fighter's career is activity. Doesn't matter how much money they're making. I mean, you want to be relevant. You want to be remembered. You want to be stopped on the street, hey, champion, people know who you are. And most importantly, you want to be sharp when you go in the ring. If you fight once a year or once every 2 years, You can't be as sharp. No matter what, if you're in the gym training, you can't be as sharp. There could be some exceptions here and there, but it's very rare.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're only fighting once a year, you're taking away from, from not just the fans, but yourself, because there's certain fighters, I'm not going to say a name, but I already know people are going to know who I'm talking about, who's an exceptional talent who fights once a year, and that's it. And he's the world champion, and he's one of the most skilled fighters I've seen. But, eventually, the thing is, it's going to catch him to where he might get knocked out just because, as you said, you could be in the gym, but that doesn't make up for, actually a live action fight where you're actually in there. Same thing as, in other sports where they tell, it's a basketball. If a player has been out for a year with the injury, he's not going to come back and, dunk on every single person. It takes time to build that back up. Same thing in boxing. If you're out of actual live action fighting, eventually it's going to catch you. Someone with more activity is going to be in rhythm.
Absolutely. I mean, and like at the end of the day, when they retire, and people don't remember them because you weren't fighting them, that's when they're going to be like, man, I should have been making. Plus, it's the time to make money. You're the world champion. Go make money.
Exactly.
Especially if a fighter like the one you mentioned is all the skill in the world. He should be defending 3 times a year.
Exactly.
But he must have his reasons.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when you see him fight, you're like, man, he's wow, and then you're just like, all right, well, I'll see you next year. It's like, well, it's frustrating as a fan, as a member of the media here watching it, because what you're seeing, and it's not like people all give him his props, but the thing is, he's not in there doing it all the time, and that's very frustrating because then you have fighters.
We forget right away. When we don't see him in 2 or 3 months, 4 months, we forget. We tend to forget in boxing. It's like you need to be relevant.
What have you done for me lately?
That ring.
What have you done for me lately? Yeah, and that's the thing is, as you said, when they retire. So when they retire 4 or 5 years from now, it won't be remember how great it was? Is, man, you imagine if he could have fought this guy? What if? That's what's going to be the question attached to the names.
Well, one thing that always, I grew up watching sport in the 80s, and we still talk about Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Diaz and Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler in that era, and Rayo and Chavez. We'll talk about them because they were fighters that were everybody. I mean, Duran fought everybody, Leonard fought everybody, Hagler fought it. But in today's era, where they don't want to fight nobody, we're not going to remember them in 5 years, 10 years.
Exactly.
They're going to be like, all right, next.
Yeah, exactly. And then what some of these fighters that I tell people is like, dude, I remember when I was a kid growing up, Chavez was fighting 4 or 5 times a year, 6 times a year. I was like, man, take a break, relax, dude. And I'm seeing these guys now, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to fight in March, and then I might fight again maybe in December. It's like 9 months? Why? Like, if you're not hurt, why would you wait so long? Now, I'm not a fighter, but it's, as you said, the era you grew up in is like you've seen these fighters 2, 3, 4 times a year. Now it's like, all right, I guess, man. That's why last year I really liked, Canelo. He's going from September, December, May, 3 times in, about 9 months. That's pretty good.
Yep.
So,
There's a fighter that makes most money in any sport. What's important to him is his legacy.
Exactly.
He wants to be remembered. He wants to do things outside. He could be the one fighting once every 2 years with the money he's making, but he's not. He's like, everybody said after beating Triple G in September, he was not going to fight in December. And look, he proved them wrong. Everybody said once he does the result, he's not going to fight anybody. His first fight, he's fighting Danny Jacobs, the most dangerous middleweight in the division.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know what? That was actually a question that came up on the show was he just signed this contract. He might not fight anybody of, that's known. And I was like, I guarantee he's not going to do that. He's going to fight Jacobs because of his track record. He's fought Lara when he shouldn't have fought Lara. He fought Trout when nobody wanted him to fight Trout. He's fought, he's fought everybody at times when people are like, I don't know if you should fight. He fought Kirkland, and again, Kirkland, at that point, Kirkland wasn't with Wolf, all that, but he came off of a layoff leading up to that Kirkland fight, which is a dangerous fight because Kirkland could bang. And, he took some tough fights at times. He came back from the Mayweather loss against Angulo. Angulo, yeah, he's not, a crafty boxer, but he's a tough guy who hits hard. and Canelo came back in and was like, I'm gonna just go in here and show you guys what I got. Still, it's a loss is whatever. So Canelo's always fought people that are worth it.
At his age, there's nobody else out there at his age more names than he has, or more champions like he has.
Exactly. And speaking of that, as we talked about the loss, Canelo is a prime example of a loss not doing anything to him. He lost to Mayweather at a young age, but you could see what he learned and what he took from that fight. His defense has improved tremendously. Footwork, skill, able to fight off the ropes. I've seen that improve from that Mayweather fight till now. And, it's something that other fighters should look at as, hey, you might take a loss, but look what happened.
Exactly. A loss, it's not going to be the end of the career. It's not going to be an end of the career. In fact, a lot of fans, actually, you gain more fans from loss. I remember when we was through Eric Morales in the first fight, he gained so many fans because they thought it was a bad decision, and that's what has no price. That's priceless right there. The love and support of the filling up of arenas because they want to see you. And yes, Canelo, he'll say it. I learned from every fight. Did he learn from the Mayweather fight? Of course. That fight, you learned a lot because you see it right after, a couple fights later, the defense, like you said, and he has tremendous defense, which he doesn't get a lot of credit for.
Yes.
Or enough credit.
Yes, and that's something, and as I've told people, because I've heard, Canelo's not your prototypical Mexican. Yes, because he's adapted. That was my thing. He's not I'm going to go in there and we're just going to brawl and see who wins. He's adapted. He's picked up the defense. He's picked up the footwork. He's picked up, being able to fight off of the ropes, which a lot of fighters can do, but it takes a certain skill to where when Canelo brings you to the ropes, he's really telling you, come in here because we're going to fight right here. Other fighters, they go to the ropes because they're tired. They're trying to, try to trick you, try to mess with you. Canelo's like, let's go to the ropes and I'm going to show you something. And that's something
to go to the ropes against Golovkin, who would knock out anybody against the ropes, because with Golovkin, as long as you were stationary, you were a target for him. Exactly. And to be on the ropes and be so comfortable against a guy like Golovkin, as strong as Golovkin, just shows you he was comfortable because he didn't feel in danger. And yes, he adapts really well. Depends on what the opponent brings, he'll figure it out and counter it. Yeah. Whether it's attacking him, or whether it's watching him, or whether it's counter-punching him. I don't think we've seen the best. I think we will be better in seeing new things, but that is there, but it hasn't needed to come out because the opponent hasn't forced it. With Danny Jacobs, we're going to see even more than we've seen in the past. Yeah. And Danny's going to bring it out.
Yeah, and Jacobs is a big fighter, a strong fighter, and he could move and he could box, he could punch. So I'm expecting a great fight there as well, just because of the size of Jacobs and the skill of Canelo. That's a great fight, perfect for Cinco de Mayo.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. I'm excited for the fight. I'm nervous for the fight. But at the same time, we know how hard Canelo trains. We know how hard Danny's trained probably for this fight, because this is the opportunity of a lifetime for him. This is what when he was a little kid that probably made him for the first time, this is what he dreamed of. And it's a week away. We're excited, dangerous. But what I said the other day was, look, the fans guaranteed fireworks. This fight, the winner's going to be the fans.
Yes.
Outside of that, there won't be no losers.
Yes. And as you guys have said before, I love the idea of it's not a $80, $90, $100. It's on the platform. It's on a $10 subscription if you've already had it, a $20 subscription if you just buy it for that day, for that month. You can't beat that,
Absolutely. And the type of fights you'll get. You'll see young kids coming up from tomorrow's champions. You'll see the champions of today, and most importantly, good fight, 50-50 fight.
Yeah.
And sometimes a fight this, and then critique it. Don't critique it before, because in boxing we never know.
Yeah. You have no control over certain things, and that's just what happens. And yeah, it's a great card again. The whole, as you said, the fans are going to be the winners, and Canelo again just proved people wrong on saying, I want Jacobs, because they thought he was just going to start taking soft touches now that he has the big contract and he has all the money.
Exactly.
Yep. And also now, besides just May 4th, I mean, again, great card, great fight. Of course, the number one fighter in the world of boxing, Canelo, right now. You guys have a summer that, I'm not sure if this is true, it looks like you guys maybe got a little bit more to spend from the zone. So is there going to be more cards coming up, June, July, August, leading, through the rest of the year?
Oh, absolutely. Well, June we have already the rematch with Cancio and Machado. Tito Acosta will be defending there as well. Tito Acosta will be, I believe it's fourth or fifth title defense. Kid on a roll, just fought recently, defended his title, took a few days off, and is back in the gym training. It's going to be a stacked card at Fantasy Springs. I mean, Cancio always, and it'll be sold out. I mean, just from what I'm seeing already, people putting in orders, and that'll be sold out. And we'll have some great fights. July, we're already working on the card for July in L.A. Obviously, the summer in L.A. is beautiful.
Yes.
And we're already looking at a couple of good fights, world title fights. Jorge Linares wants to come back in the summer as well. And we have a couple fights lined up already, that cards that we're working on. And right now, obviously, the concentration is on tomorrow nights and then next week. And then after that, we'll start working on the summer.
Okay. And when will, I know a lot of people were hoping Garcia would have came back on this card. When is his next fight being at least looked at?
We're looking at July. Hopefully in that beautiful summer, L.A. We'll be announcing it right after May 4th, his next fight, and the venue and everything. Okay. But it's going to be a pleasant surprise for the fans and a good card.
Okay, and it's going to be a bigger arena, right? Not where he's been fighting lately?
Well, he's fought at the StubHub, and he fought at Fantasy Springs. He fought in the big arena.
Yeah, but he's selling that out to the max.
Exactly. So, yes, we're definitely going to a bigger venue in L.A.
Okay, yeah, because, I mean, StubHub, I love it. Last year I went, and my luck, it rained. So... Yeah. When
was that? But that was in December, right?
No, it was in March with Valdez.
Okay.
Okay. And I was so pumped up for that card.
In the shop is beautiful. StubHub in the summer. I mean, you always have the risk that it comes, but in August, that's the time to go there.
Yeah. I was so pumped for that Valdez card, and then it started raining when I got there. I was like, oh man, it was still just the. As everybody says, that is the war grounds of the West Coast. And
yeah.
The moment I walked in there, I got that feeling. I was like, oh, man. And that was a great fight either way with Valdez. So, yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I want to go back. I want to see another fight there. So, I mean, hey, I don't know if that's what you're saying where Garcia's fighting. If it is, I'm hoping to be there as well because that was a great event that last time.
Then I'll probably see you in July.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll all be there. Fighter's Voice will be there, doing some work for you guys as well if you need it, and we'll be there.
Absolutely. It'll be a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, well, that's going to end the interview portion here for the show, so just give me one moment, and then I'll continue to talk with you. All right, brother?
You got it, bro.
All right, thank you.
Never down for the count. It's just another wrap. Thanks for listening to the Fighter's Voice Radio Show. Catch us again next week. Same when, same how. And always stay connected to the Fighter's Voice on social media. So, on behalf of Richard Ortiz, Cole Escovedo, our special guests, and the whole crew right here at the Fighter's Voice Radio Show, saying see ya next week, right here on the Fighter's Voice.